Today I'm very excited to introduce Joseph Diaz. He's one of our CorelDRAW Masters and also the grand prize winner of the 2011 CorelDRAW International Design Contest. Finished second in 2013 on the 2013 CorelDRAW International Contest, and was finished first in our 2015 contest in the advertising and specialty graphics category. So a very amazing user and does fantastic work with CorelDRAW overall. To learn more about Joe, you can visit corel.com/CorelDRAWMasters or his website at diazmedia.com. Joe, thank you very much for joining us today. Before I hand over to Joe, I wanted to give you a very quick overview of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and just more details about who is it for and a few more background information. And then we'll hand over to Joe showing you more of the product and why it is such a great product for vector illustration, page layout, and much more. CorelDRAW Graphics Suite users are really a broad group. We have a lot of creative professionals as well as production-oriented designers in sign making and industry and engraving industry, etc. The fashion and garment decoration designers use CorelDRAW Graphics Suite a lot for all their graphics needs. And all those illustrators, fine artists, and designers really use CorelDRAW as their main tool for their business day in and day out. And then we also have a large number of the CorelDRAW users who are more occasional graphics users in sales and marketing teams, office users, hobbyists. And this is because from the ground up, CorelDRAW has been designed with the end user in mind to make it as easy as possible to achieve your design goals and integrate great with tools like Microsoft Office and everything else that you're using today in your workflow. Talking about the workflow, the normal workflow from our users goes from what we call the ideation phase, which can start from a blank page or a blank canvas, but quite often also starts from previous documents, from customer documents, using photos and stock photos and clip arts, using fonts, etc., etc. So many different sources to start with, and then all the design and the pre-production will happen in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, to then be output to any type of medium that you want. From Microsoft Office documents, and we can do an export for Office very quickly to optimize in presentations, Word documents, etc., to print, to web, to PDF, to also be able to export to large format printers and many other different medium that you're going to use. So you can really create once and repurpose anywhere. Part of the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite are included multiple applications. CorelDRAW itself, which is our vector illustration and page layout solution that is yet easy to use but also professional quality. We also include Corel PhotoPane, which is our professional and award-winning image editing application that really enables you to do everything that comes to photo retouching and image editing. Corel PowerTrace enables you to convert bitmaps into vectors. So if you have a low-resolution bitmap of a logo that you would like to be able to use in a much larger format, you can very quickly use Corel PowerTrace to convert that into vector and then make it printed in very high quality, in high resolution and high format, large format. Corel Connect enables you to access the content that you have on your computer in the cloud and through online services, including the ones offered by Corel. Website Creator is a fantastic application to enable you to create websites through a WYSIWYG interface, so no need to know HTML coding to get your websites and web pages created. And we also include a screen capture application called Corel Capture. On top of that, a lot more, including the capability of automating tasks through Visual Basic for applications and Visual Studio for applications so that you can record scripts and play them again to go faster and be even more productive. Tons of content comes with the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, over 10,000 pieces of clip art, over 2,000 high-resolution stock photos, 1,000 fonts that you can use in any of your designs with no limitations. And to get you going very quickly, we also include over 5 hours of training video. Everything you need to get going from the very first white page to being able to create some fantastic pieces of design. Okay, Joe might have had a few more hours of practice of CorelDRAW before going into there, but that will really get you going with tons of training, learning materials, and information. In addition to that, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite can be licensed in 2 different ways. We offer a subscription similar to what Adobe does, but we also continue and are committed to continue offering perpetual licenses for those who choose so. So you can really just purchase CorelDRAW Graphics Suite once and use it forever. For those who work on network deployments in enterprises, we offer multilingual network deployments as well as online licensing management. We have different options to give you access to additional maintenance and what we call premium membership, which is additional content and additional features and benefits throughout the lifecycle. That is for you to choose if you want to take those on. And then if you go on a subscription, you pay on an annual basis for the use of your product, and you can really deploy this and use it on whatever system you want. For those of you in the audience who are coming from an enterprise view, I just want to give you a very quick glance into our volume licensing offering because we do offer boxes and download version available for anyone. As the box is available as perpetual licenses and then the downloaded version is available as either a subscription or a perpetual license. But when we go into volume licensing and you choose either volume subscription or perpetual licenses, and perpetual license with maintenance, you can really have all the benefits of software deployment, multi-user management account, be able to access the online content, be able to also deploy upgrades, control your software, and have perpetual rights to use the software. So we really offer you choice to work whichever way you want. For example, we now also have software virtualization options available for you so that you can use terminal server or other solutions in your deployment and in your environment very quickly. So obviously, we will be more than happy for those interested in providing more details on the licensing options that Corel provides, but today the focus is really on the product itself and on the functionality. And because the theme of today is about the alternative for Corel, for Creative Cloud, I want to show you first, before I hand over to Joe to show you more of the product itself, how we make it very easy for the user to learn about CorelDRAW Graphics Suite if they come from an Adobe Illustrator, for example. One example I wanted to go over is to show you how easy it is, and here I'm actually using the multi-page functionality of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, but how easy it is to very quickly change the user interface, the look and feel. Here, this is our default look and feel for CorelDRAW. This is the one I use the most because I feel it the most optimized. But for those who are transitioning over from Adobe Illustrator, for example, you can very quickly reconfigure the workspace so that the buttons and most of the shortcut keys actually redefine and reposition in a similar way that you would do with an Adobe Illustrator. Same thing with Photo Paint, which can mimic closely what the layout looks for Adobe Photoshop. Again, to help the transition in somebody who is considering the transition from a Creative Cloud over to CorelDRAW, to help them get going. We also include very detailed tutorials and information to help users get going from Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop to CorelDRAW and Corel Photo Paint with training videos, with written tutorials that help the transition there. But without further ado, I think I'm going to hand over to Joe for him to take it on from here and really show you the power of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and what you can do with this fantastic product. Joe, we're going to hand you over the presenter hand, and feel free to take it from here.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great.
Good.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks, Gerard. What I wanted to do today was take a look at a project that kind of encompasses a lot of what makes CorelDRAW great. It's a great program for vector illustration work, for manipulating photographs, for page layout, and so this particular project has a little bit of all of that involved. So I'm going to go to the first page. Here again, he briefly touched on the fact that CorelDRAW has multi-page documents, which is great for projects like this where there's a lot going on, and it just helps me keep things a little bit more organized. What we're going to be looking at is a menu that I created for Steampunk Stellas. Now, Steampunk Stellas was the design that I created actually for the CorelDRAW contest a few years back, and since then we've expanded it into just this huge corporate identity that kind of showcases what Corel can do and how it can be used for print layout and things like that. But we've done bottle layouts, we've done brochures, we've done menus, packaging art. All of that was designed and then also produced, and CorelDRAW was a big part of that. So first thing I want to show is dealing with photographs, and this is the this is a process that is a lot of graphic designers use when they have a photo and they want to essentially crop it out. Now right now, if I go into wireframe, you can see that this is a full bitmap here. Actually, it's two bitmaps grouped together. Let's see here. Let me ungroup this. And you can see that this is a bitmap. Now if I were to go back into enhanced mode, and if I were to draw a box behind this, and I'm going to hit shift page down to send that box to the very back of the document here. And I'm going to add this sandstone color to that rectangle. Now you can see that this in fact is a bitmap with a white border around it. And so how do we get rid of that? So there's several different ways that you could do this, and that's kind of the great thing about CorelDRAW. One kind of quick way is if this happened to be a really light color, so I'm going to turn it to this, let's say, eggshell color. A really quick, easy way, and this only really works with light colors, but this is a tool that can be used in other ways too. So I'm going to go up to Uniform Transparency, and I'm going to pull that all the way to, 0%. So it looks just like it normally did. However, now I can go up here and do subtract. And you can see because it's subtracting all the colors, white being the brightest of the colors, it's kind of got rid of that white altogether. So as you can see, that's just a quick way of doing this particular image, but a lot of times you don't have the luxury of having a completely whited out background. So I'm going to undo that. Control Z is a quick way to undo. There's a lot of great keyboard shortcuts for CorelDRAW. That's one I use a lot. Another way you can crop things out is kind of the longer, more labor-intensive way. However, it serves a purpose, and especially served a purpose in this particular project. But it also gives me an opportunity to show you one of my favorite tools, which is the freehand tool. With the freehand tool, you can do a lot of different things to create vector shapes. If you click once and you if you click and let go, you can kind of drag this line around here, and if you click again, it completes that line. Now you'll notice that once my mouse cursor gets closer to this node, I can click on it again and connect to that node. And so right there I've created a pretty basic vector shape. I can give it fill, I can do a lot of different things with it. The other thing about the freehand tool is if you click and you hold down the mouse button, you can draw any shape you want. And you'll notice that it kind of simplified that line and made it nice and clean. However, if you wanted it to more accurately record your mouse movement, you can go up to this and you can adjust your node smoothing. And now what it's going to do, since I have it at such a low setting, it's going to capture all of that. So if you're going to use something like a tablet, this might be a good setting to keep it kind of in the mid to low range because you would want it to capture a little bit more of your, your movement. With a mouse, on the other hand, I like to keep it kind of high. Just makes things a little bit easier. So using that technique, what I've done is I went around this bottle here, and with using straight lines and curves, you can trace things this way. Now, one thing you can also do is once these lines have been created, you can actually go up to your shape tool here, and you can right-click on any line and add a curve to it. You can add nodes just by double-clicking on the line anywhere you want. And you just kind of go around here and you kind of clean things up. You can delete nodes by double-clicking on it or clicking on it once and hitting delete. You'll notice these same tools are also up here. For example, I created a curve and I added a node in the middle of this curve. I can adjust it this way, but you can see it's also adjusting the other end of that node, or the other side of that node. And if I were to click the cusp node, now I can adjust one side of these at a time. So using these kind of shape tools, you can trace out objects, which I've done in this case already. And we're going to take the fill out of that and give it an outline. Now what I can do is I can take this photo here and I can right on it, and up here it says Power Clip Inside. Now Power Clip is a great feature. You can do this with lettering, you can do it with anything. You can put vector shapes within vector shapes, you can put bitmaps within vector shapes. In this case I'm going to do a bitmap inside of this traced vector shape I created. And as you can see, now I can put it over top of anything. It still has this outline here. I can get rid of that by right-clicking on one of these. You'll see if I right-click on yellow, it's going to apply a yellow outline. If I left-click on yellow, it's going to apply a yellow fill if it weren't a power-clipped image already. So what I want to do is right-click on no color, and you can see it got rid of my outline altogether. So now you can manipulate this like any other shape. You can skew it. One thing you can do though is if you want to actually go back into this bitmap and edit it is you can hold down your control key and click on it. And now I am within the power clipped area. Things that I do over here outside of this blue line that indicates where the vector shape that I'm in is. If I do anything outside of that and I exit my power clip, you see that's not showing up anymore. If I were to have it overlapping, so part of it's in here and part of it isn't. So that's essentially how that works. You can do a lot of cool things with, you don't just have to use it to crop out things. You can use it, you know, let's say I wanted to make the bottom half of the bottle look darker. Using my transparency tool, I could do that. And now when I go out of there, it looks like it kind of fades out towards the bottom. So that's one way to do it. Now, as I said, that the reason why I did that vector shape will come in handy later, and once I get to that part of the project, I'll explain that. A really quick and easy way, let me remove this from the power clip. So I'm going to do extract contents, and we're going to pull my shape over here. One thing I can do is also go to edit bitmap. Now what this is going to do is this is going to send me over to Photo Paint. Now if you already have Photo Paint open, this process, you know, goes really quick, but I just had to open a new program. So what I like to do is go up to Image and then Cutout Lab. Now this is a great program or a great feature of Photo Paint. If you use this tool here, your highlighter tool, and you can adjust the size of your, you know, if we wanted to go really small and get really into the nooks and crannies of this, we could. But I'm going to keep it pretty large just to show you how accurate you can get with this. So let's go up to, let's say, 90. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of highlight over the edge of the bottle here. And I can zoom out if I want by using either the tools up here, or I can use my my mouse wheel, which is I use all the time to kind of get in and out of things. So we're going to go around and trace this whole thing. We don't have to be perfect. We just got to get in the ballpark. This would come in handy too if you had a shape that you were cropping out and it didn't have this pure white background. If there was other things in the background, this is a good program for that, or a good feature for that. Next thing you do is you hit the Inside Fill tool and you click that, and now I go to Preview, and you can see it's cropped it out. It gives you that checkerboard background to let you know that that is transparent. But if you wanted to go to, let's say, grayscale or black to test things, now you can see when I go to black, it wanted to get some of the white out here. And let's say I didn't want that. I want this little highlight to show up. I can go to this plus tool, and we'll make this a little bit smaller. Let's go down to 20. And now I can kind of scrub in that highlight, bring that back. And you can do that anywhere on here. You can add or subtract. If you wanted to take this part of it out, you certainly could. But that's how you do that. Once you're happy with what you have, you would hit OK. Then you can simply close out of Photo Paint. And what it's going to do is it's going to ask you, do you want to save that? And if you say yes, then it's going to bring that edited bitmap back into CorelDRAW. You don't have to re-import anything. It's ready to go. So here is the edited bitmap. As you can see, it's not power clipped. It just now has that transparent or alpha background. Another thing I wanted to show you was basic vector layout. What I did for this menu is I created headings for each of the sections. There's a place for your appetizers. There's a place for the salads. This particular restaurant is supposed to be a bar and grill, so there's specialty drinks and exclusive drinks. So what I did to create this gear in the background, I'll show you that real quick. We go to our polygon tool, and I'm going to pull this out like that. And if you hold your control key, you can kind of keep things from, what do you call it? Keeping things all in line and symmetrical. The other thing we can do is within here you can grab nodes, and whatever I do to this line will apply to another line. So if I go up here and I hit, let's say 60, and let's go back to, let's say 40. 40 is a better number. Okay. Now anything I apply to one of these lines is going to apply to every single other line. So if I add a node here, and I go like that, you can see we've got kind of almost a saw blade look going. So I'm going to grab two nodes. I'm going to hit plus. Then I'm going to hit two nodes again and hit plus. I'm sorry, let's hit these two nodes. So now if I were to pull this down and pull that down, I'm sorry, let's pull them down together. Pull that down, and if we were to delete that node altogether, we've got the start of a gear going here. And as you can see, that's how I created these here. Then once I have that, I can create a circle. CorelDRAW has a lot of pre-made shapes over here. You can do circles, stars, arrows, there's banners even. A lot of different pre-made shapes that are, your kind of basics that get you started, that you can manipulate and turn into new shapes if you need to. Now you'll notice that I had the circle actually snapped to the center of this shape here, and that's a cool snap feature that you can actually snap to a lot of things, but you can snap to objects. You can create a grid within a document and snap to that. You can snap to grid lines. I'll show you grid lines here shortly. But a lot of different features that or a lot of different points that you can snap to, and you can actually go into the options and tell CorelDRAW what, do I want it to snap to center lines? Do I want it to snap to just a line in general? Do I want it to snap to the nodes? Right now I've got pretty much everything turned on. So if I were to have a square, I can grab a hold of this and snap it to a node. I can snap it to the center of this. I can snap it to just a line in general, or midpoints of a line. So that's a nice feature if you want to keep things nice and straight and everything measured up properly. So if I wanted to actually go in and really fine-tune this instead of winging it like I did, I could create that rectangle there, then take this node and snap it to those. And that kind of fine-tuning sort of separates kind of the really nice vector work from the more amateurish stuff. So I'm going to duplicate this. Control-D is how I duplicate things. It's essentially like copying and pasting all in one. There's other ways to do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it in CorelDRAW, but that's the one that I like to use. If you click off of everything and just select a blank spot on the screen, you can actually go up here and change the distance that it duplicates. So right now when I duplicate something, it's going to go up that 1/4 of an inch and over a 1/4 of an inch. But if I were to want it to not do that, to just duplicate over top of where it is, I could do that as well. And once you have what you like, you can select it all and you can combine it and you can give it fill and you can create basically what I've done here. Now the text is pretty easy. You go to your text tool and you can type in things that you want. So exclusive. You can actually go up here and select all of your fonts, and you can see that it changes it on the fly as you're hovering over it, so you can get an idea of how it's going to look before you actually select it. But it also does it down towards the bottom of the screen here. And that's nice because, as you can see, this drop-down menu is over top of a lot of my text. So I can't really see, what does that V look like? Well, I can see it down here. So there's, it gives you options. You can take a look at it in a couple different ways. But once you get a font you like, you would select it. Or if you hover over it and there's multiple versions of the font, you can preview those. But once you get the font you like, you can kind of add it where you need to. Another thing you can do is, using your shape tool, you can adjust the kerning or the space in between your letters. If you have multiple words, so I'm going to go ahead and type in bruise. By using that same feature, if I were to hold down Shift, what it's going to do is do the space in between words instead of in between letters. It does the same thing with multiple lines of document. So if I were to, let's say, copy, and we're going to hit Enter after S, and I hit Paste. Now I've got 2 lines here, and I can use the Shape tool to adjust the space in between lines. So in this case, I've got 2 different things of text here, and I've placed them here. I took basically a series of rectangles to create this shape here, and then let me go ahead and finish this here to show you. You've got a lot of shape tools where you can trim, you can weld things together, trim it out, which is what I did in this case. You can, this is kind of a cool feature. If you select 2 complex shapes and you use the boundary shape, what it's going to do is create a new shape that kind of goes around the boundary of both shapes. And we use that a lot in our industry to create cut paths for digital prints. So if we create a print and we want the machine to actually cut out part of that bitmap or vector design, we would use the boundary to kind of do that. So it's like a die cut feature. And then what we can do is we can apply our cut contour. In our case, we use a roll-in printer, and it has a specific cut contour title that you give it, and what we do is apply that to the shape, and now when we send the file to our printer, it's going to tell it where to cut, and it's going to be this green line. So in this case, what I did is I took this rectangle, I hit trim, and then I created 2 smaller rectangles. And if I wanted to get that all centered up, I can select all 3 of these and go to my Align and Distribute, which you can, you have access to a lot of different Dockers, and your Dockers are all here. There's so many of them, and they're all great, and they're super useful. You can see the ones that I use a lot are checked. So I select both of these, and I go to Align Center. And so if these were kind of way over here, you can see that it would basically snap everything into place. And then I can select all of those and weld. This is created in a similar way, and then I also used, various rectangles. You can create an oval. Here again, using your snap to features, make this so that it snaps to that. And you can see kind of how I started to create that. There's triangles. One quick way to make triangles, though, is to simply go to your shape tool and just add a node in the center of that, and that's kind of how I like to create them. I'm going to snap that to the center here. And then you can weld those together. And then trim. And just like that, you've created, that whistle. That's how I do a lot of things in CorelDRAW. You just use that shape tool to manipulate nodes. Use your freehand tool to create more abstract shapes. Really quick and easy tools for making your own custom vector shapes. So all these were created that way. Just using pre-existing shapes and manipulating them, like the polygon tool to create gears, use a freehand tool to create curls like this and leaves. Straight lines, I start with rectangles and I edit them. And yeah, that's pretty much how we create things like that. Same sort of deal. I've taken some elements that, this is the logo I created within CorelDRAW. I already showed you how to create the gears, but we create the basic background for this menu. And when you have a border like this, a lot of times what you can do is you can use your shape tool. And if I hold down the control key when I select these nodes and move them, it kind of wants to move them at 15-degree angles, whereas if I let go of the control, it can kind of go wherever. So if I hold down control, I can make sure that I keep all this straight. And so I'm just selecting nodes and moving them around, and that's how I kind of created this background, this border here. Now I've started to add, you can see I've started to add the bottles. Now I've added the custom headers that I've created. Here's a stock photo I use, and a really nice way to get stock photos within CorelDRAW is to take advantage of Corel Connect. So if you go over here, I've got Corel Connect as one of my Dockers, and you can get to it in a couple different places, but I've got it here already ready to go. And if I select that Docker, I can search for various things. I can check where I want it to search. So I can CorelDRAW already comes preloaded with a lot of clip art and photos. I do a lot of, if I use stock imagery, I like to use stock photo. You know, there's a lot of different ones that you can use, but this is one that's available. You can also simply go up to File and Import and then find a photo that you've taken on your digital camera. If you have a scanner, you can go to Acquire Image and select Acquire, and then depending on your scanner, you might see your typical scan wizard for that particular scanner will show up, and you follow your normal routine as far as that goes, and then it applies that image to your document. But I want to show you this Connect. So if I were to type in, let's say we wanted to have a dessert page, and I wanted to do cake, for example. I'd type in cake, I would hit enter, and what it's going to do is it's going to show me first stuff that's within CorelDRAW's clip art collection. And if I scroll down, now I'm going to start seeing photographs. A lot of these are would be perfect for what we're trying to do. And if it's something from, let's say, a site like iStockPhoto, and I were to click and drag it in here, it's going to give me this warning saying that this is still a copyrighted photo. So you'd want to purchase it if you like this image. So I'm going to hit OK. And you can see it still has a watermark. It's still low resolution, but it would work perfect for mock-up purposes. So before the client gives you the go-ahead and that's the image that I want, you wouldn't want to purchase photos just to test it out. So now if you want to actually purchase it, you can actually right-click on the image on the Connect page here and go Open Source Location. And what that's going to do is it's going to open the window within your browser to that page where that clip art's available or that photo's available, and you would purchase it from the website, and then you can bring it back into CorelDRAW. So we use stock photo here. I use the trim feature to trim out that oval there, and then I created a kind of a transparent bar of brown. I'm going to get rid of the outline there. And then we are going to select subtract, and you can see kind of how I created that. And so I'm going to eventually put text over top of that, and I wanted that dark background to allow that text to kind of stand out more. Now you can see I've started adding text to describe the items. Same sort of deal, we can use our text tool to type in headers. Another thing you can do is if you select the text tool and you click and drag, you can create a box. So I'm going to move that box over here. And then you can type in whatever you want. Another thing you can do is if you don't know what you want to say yet, you can add placeholder text by right-clicking and selecting Insert Placeholder Text. So that'll give you an idea of what the document's going to look like before you actually start adding the information that you want. So for layout purposes, that's very valuable. You can actually go up to here and select center. You've got all these different distribution features here. And in this case, I centered it. And you can change your fonts, you can change your font size. And here again, using the shape tool, you would actually be able to adjust the space, the line spacing on the fly. So that is essentially how I laid this out. Now, another cool thing about CorelDRAW that kind of would help in a project like this is your to pull out your guidelines. And to do that, all you have to do is click on the ruler here, and you can pull out guidelines. And guidelines will snap to other shapes, and shapes will snap to guidelines. However, by default, it's not set up that way. So you actually have to go to Snap to, and then make sure that guidelines is checked. And now when I create a rectangle, or if I have a text box, that is going to snap to that guideline. So you could create a series of guidelines in a document like this and use those to have a precise layout for a menu or a brochure or any type of print layout. Now, if you double-click on your guideline, you can actually rotate guidelines too. So that's kind of a neat feature. And hold down Control, it will rotate it at 15 degrees. You can kind of see up here how much I'm rotating it by. So that helps with layout as well. So I'm going to go over here. Now you can see I've started adding the prices to the menu. Same sort of deal. I started with a rectangle. I added nodes. Oh, you'll see when I first create a rectangle, what it's going to do by default is allow me to round my corners of my shape. And to get rid of that, if you want to, you could right-click and hit Convert to Curves. And so now it's just a basic vector shape. It doesn't have that extra feature to it. So I'm going to add a node to the center of that and turn that to a curve. And so that's essentially how I've created that. You can see the menu starting to come together. Now, sometimes you'll get, you can get access to logos, or for example, these are existing companies. But as Gerard pointed out earlier, if you have a bitmap for a logo that is kind of a poor quality, you can actually, and I'll show you by purposely making these, actually let me do it to this. So I'm going to purposely turn this into a bitmap. We'll make it 300 dpi. So you can see I zoom in and it's got pixels like all bitmaps do. I can go to trace bitmap and you can go to quick trace, or you can kind of fine tune things. So if I go logo, I can actually go in here and increase the detail and decrease the smoothing, and you kind of fine tune it until you get what you want. And just for the sake of speed here, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And so it's not perfect in this case because I didn't do a lot of fine tuning, but it would get you in the ballpark. And so that was one way you could do if you had corporate logos that you didn't have access or permission. Well, you have to get permission to use it, but if you didn't have access to the vector art, you could always use that as a feature. And this is kind of all the internal pages you can see. Bitmap manipulation. We've got layout, text layout tools that we've used here. We're using stock photos in this case. You can see these are the brown bars that I use to kind of help the text stand out. And finally, we've got the cover. And you can see there's a cutout part here, and that allows this part of the first page of the menu to show through. What we've done here, you can see this is actually a vector illustration. This is all created within CorelDRAW. If I go into my power clip here, you can see, and then I go to wireframe, you can see how that was all created in vector by simply using the freehand tool and the shape tool and all sorts of other layout tools to kind of create this. I actually have a webinar I created a while ago with CorelDRAW. If you go to their YouTube channel, you should be able to find it, where I demonstrate how I did that. We kind of use the same header graphic from the internal part of the menu and just swap the colors out a little bit to create that little message on the back. Now I show you, this has a lot to do, if you're in the print industry, this is something that might interest you. Here's the cut contour that I showed you earlier. You can see this is telling the machine to cut. And if you look at that, you'll see that's been kind of rounded off. And then we go to this other page, you'll see that the cut would actually, in fact, let me just bring it over. I'll show you. And copy it and paste it. I've created a bleed so that if my cut's not perfect, it's not going to have a little bit of a white glow around there. Now you'll see over here I've created, this is a mask, and I can, depending on the printer that you're using, you can apply a certain color to it, and this would tell the printer to lay down a gloss and a matte over top of the digitally printed graphic. So it kind of creates a cool texture. This part of it's glossy, the black is glossy, and the white is matte. I did the same thing to the internal pages too. Now this is where that creating that shape of the bottle comes into play. Like I told you earlier, I'd bring this up again. Because I spent the time actually tracing this, I can use it for this purpose pretty easily. And then now when we send this to print, the white would be matte and these bottles would be gloss. And so that is pretty much how I created this menu using all sorts of different tools that are built into CorelDRAW, or CorelDRAW Suite, I should say, because we did use PhotoPaint and we did use Corel Connect. So I'm going to probably turn this back over to Gerard. I think he had a few things he wanted to say.
Hey Joe, thank you very much for this. One thing, just, and you've used it a lot there, but I just want to point it out because it was one of the questions that came in the webinar, was about multi-page. And so I just want to mention here, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite is fully multi-page capable, so you can really create multi-page documents very easily versus having to go from an Adobe Illustrator and InDesign and going back and forth between both. So you can really do it all in one application. We've really designed CorelDRAW Graphics Suite for multi-page brochures, 16, 32-page flyers and brochures to do them all, with support of things like even and odd pages and things like that. So you have all the basics there to really create multi-page brochures and documents as well. I just wanted to add a few things and then at the same time try to answer some of the questions that came up in the Q&A while Joe, you were doing a great overview, and thank you very much, Joe, for this fantastic view. So one of the questions came in was about import-export filters and what do we support and how does it work. So CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 supports over 100 import-export filters. So you can really import and open directly your PSD files, your Adobe Illustrator, PDF, etc., etc. All the formats that you used to use, you can get them directly into CorelDRAW. And with every new version, we continue to improve the quality of the most used filters so that you can really have compatibility with the latest version of the file formats. So that's really what we offer there as an option. The other thing I just wanted to add on top, because there were a few questions from some people, is about the operating system support. So when we launched, we actually supported Windows 7 and Windows 10, but I actually need to go in here now and add Windows 10, Windows 7 and Windows 8, but now we need to add Windows 10 as well, because we fully support the latest version of the Microsoft operating system with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. So you have everything you need to work perfectly on the latest OS from Microsoft. We will actually release a new update pretty shortly that will be certified as Windows 10 compatible by Microsoft, so you're going to get that at no extra charge part of the product. Part of that, the specs are fairly light. If you're doing very complex graphics, obviously more is better, and more RAM and more power on the CPU is better. But we've designed CorelDRAW Graphics Suite from the ground up to not require tons of system resources to even be able to load. So on a very light system, you will be able to get it going. A very quick summary on what's included in CorelDRAW. I think, Joe, you covered quite a lot of those, and I'll come back to some of the additional questions that are coming in. But CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 is a complete professional graphics suite that includes everything you need from vector illustration to page layout to photo editing to bitmap to vector tracing and web design, web graphics, websites, and a lot more. We have a very intuitive and customizable user interface, which means if you're coming from the Adobe world, you can even customize the look and feel as I showed to mimic Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop so that you feel at home very quickly. And there is extensive content and training available from both Corel and our community. We have a very powerful photo editing application. We actually didn't even open that application today. But if I come in an application, I can actually just go and open Photo Paint here very quickly, so you can see it. Here again, we have the option to make it similar to, just pick a photo here, and we can again here change the look and feel and the workspace to mimic Adobe Photoshop, and then all the buttons will feel where you're used to, and most of the keyboard shortcuts will go there as well. I'll just revert back to default because I'm much more used to that workflow. But we have a complete non-destructive editing capabilities in Corel Photo Paint available there for everyone as well. A lot more in CorelDRAW with native 64-bit support and 32-bit support, so it depends on what you or your users need. Both are supported there, and we continue to have market-leading and extensive file compatibility available with tons of training material available for everyone. So let me just go through a few of the questions that happened. I think one of them was about Windows 10, and as I said, we're fully compatible today, and we fully tested CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 on Windows 10, and we're actually just about to release a new update for CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, a free update for anybody who's purchased CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, and that update will actually have the official Microsoft certification logo, and we'll have gone through the official Microsoft certification for Windows 10 compatibility. Other question I saw was again about import-export, and you can really work with all those files. If I come into my file import menu here, just to give you an idea, here is just an example of all the different file formats that we support, and there's tons of them. So even if you have fairly old files in the system, you can even open them with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and get them directly into here. The other question came around InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator. Does CorelDRAW, the vector application here, cover both? I'd say for the vast majority of the users, CorelDRAW will cover both applications. Now, if you're creating very complex books and hundreds of pages, documents, or daily journals, CorelDRAW might not be the best and the most optimized tool for your needs. But for anybody who creates brochures, flyers of up to 32 pages, you'll have everything you need in your capability also to create page numbers on even and odd pages, work on the page numbering settings, and really manage all the things on the features here and the master pages, the different grids and guidelines, and everything can be done for odd and even pages as well. Another thing that we talked about, there was a question about training. Lots of training is available. One of them is directly built into the product. So as I select a tool, we will help you to understand that tool and learn about how it works very quickly in a contextual way. And then we have some video tutorials built in directly, so you can learn about the basics very quickly from within the application. And you can always come in the help menu. We have a pretty extensive online help, as well as video tutorials. And this will actually open up a separate application where you can go and access all of our training. So for example, I was talking earlier about CorelDRAW. We have a specific training video that I'm not going to play now, but you can see it here about CorelDRAW for Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop users. So that gets you going very quickly, and you can learn about all the details, and more importantly, about the differences in terminology between one application and the other one. A lot more in here when it comes to training with quick start guide with insights from the experts. These are articles written by experts in the industry from around the world that explain how they use the product, so you can actually learn from the very best. Just looking at a few additional questions here. Joe, just one question here that you might be able to answer a lot faster about the cut contour button. Where is it and how it works? So it's, do you remember which menu it is or where it is on the toolbar?
The cut contour button?
Yeah.
So basic, the it's not necessarily a button, it's a color that you have to assign.
Yeah. Okay.
To do that, you would apply a color, and you can actually go, let me see here. You can go up here,
a circle here
and select.
So I'll go into, I want to cut this out, for example, here. So now if I come into my colors palettes, where is it? Sorry. Color palettes here. And I can take the open palette. No, that's not the one I was looking for. Oh, here, I'm getting there. Where's my color palettes here? Color palette manager, that's what I was looking for. And here I can open up my Roland palette, for example. So if I use Roland VersaWorks, and I'll have here the different colors. So I could apply, this is the cut contour. That's a little too strong. But put that here to the side, and this is the cut contour line. So when we send this to the printer, it will automatically cut along that line, and it will not print that line.
Yeah, and you'll notice that, I mean, you can even go in and change that color. So I think we've changed ours to lime green. It's just something that we were used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as it's labeled cut contour in that way with a capital C and well, two capital C's, it will work on Roland products. Now,
Yeah.
I'm sure there might be a little bit different setup for other printers that are out there. There are a lot of different printers, but for the most part, I think that's how they work.
Yeah, perfect. There's a question about all the hotkeys, and I see an answer there. You can get most of the hotkeys directly in the help, and I believe there's also a wiki article on the CorelDRAW community on community.coreldraw.com where users have actually posted even more hotkeys and shortcut keys that exist. And then power trays, X6, X7, they're very similar. We'll always continue to tweak the power trays capabilities with a new version. But between X6 and X7, the functionality, the core functionality will be very similar between both. And I think that covers most of the questions I can see there that I haven't answered or that I wanted to highlight based on the questions throughout the session. So if there's another few questions here, a question about CorelDRAW X8. Sorry, I won't be able to speak about an unannounced product from Corel, but always nice to see people waiting, and I can only tell you that we're hard at work on future versions of the product, and really will continue to deliver new versions in the future. So overall, thank you very much, Joe, for your time and for sharing some of your techniques and showing briefly some insights on how you use the CorelDRAW graphics suite. As I said, this webinar has been recorded, and we will be sharing it on our website in the coming days. And make it available. I believe it will also be available on our YouTube channel in the future. I'd like to let you know that you can get more information about CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and download a free 30-day trial by visiting www.coreldraw.com. And we really hope to see you soon again. And we thank you very much for your time today, this afternoon, or this evening. Thank you very much, and goodbye.